All right, so this is going to be a continuation of our control bracket. We just completed part number one. Now we're going to make the adjustments for control bracket part number two. Okay, now I'm basically going to start off with the same bracket. I'm going to have control bracket number one up. I'm going to make a couple quick modifications. It's the same exact problem. We're going to complete this part. When we're done, find its mass, save it, upload it, and enter the mass into the Schoology assessment. Now in this case, nothing has really changed. There's only been one small change. It's in the front view. The only thing I'm seeing that's different between our original and what we were working on is the distance for this upper circle instead of 15 has been moved to 20, and the height instead of 35 has been reduced down to 13 with this angle from 135 turning to 167. Everything else remains the same. The one thing that is being added in, though, is there are two cuts on the inside of each of these circles that we'll have to add in. And what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to actually create a plane that we will end up working with. The plane will basically, since we have our front plane in the middle, we can actually create a plane that will be based on just offset at 1 millimeter out. And then we're going to create basically a circle on that plane and do a 2 millimeter cut. Okay. If I do that, then what they'll do is puts us in the right spot. We're going to do it basically on one, and then we're just going to mirror it over. So that's the only other thing we have to add. Oh, and the last thing is we got to get rid of the thing in the middle here. So this is one big piece. So really, it's just a couple things we have to do to modify this. Okay. And then now we'll make sure this is done. Beyond that, I think that's all we have to do here. So I'm going to go ahead and get back into my original part. So here is what we finished up with part number one. So now what I'm going to do is kind of come back. These numbers on my first extrusion are okay. It's still a 12 millimeter extrusion. They're still 20 and 30 on the sides of the circle. It's still 35 and 25 on the circles in the back. So that is good. Okay, this extrusion here, I'm going to have to actually go in. What will happen is I'll get rid of this little cut right here. I'm actually going to go into the Boss Extrude 2. We're going to go in here and edit the sketch, spacebar normal 2. Now, all I'm going to do in this case is I'm going to get rid of this vertical line right here, yes, and this line right here, and yes. And then all I'm going to do is just pull this to attach. This case, I'm going to delete that line and drag this all the way to the back. Okay. This right here, I'm not quite sure if it's just because it's missing a tangent, and maybe I'm just going to add a quick tangent relationship there, and that looks like that's all that was missing. Okay. This was still posing a problem up here earlier. I'm not sure why that is a problem. Let me see if I can go through and do the extrusion. I'm going to continue to ignore. Okay. Now the reason this came up is because if you recall, on the first one, I had to do that additional cut. Okay, well now I don't. So all I'm going to do is just delete this, get rid of that cut, get rid of this sketch. Okay, close, right click, and delete this sketch. Okay, so now I am back to where we originally were. Now, as you can tell, I ended up losing all my chamfers by making that cut because the chamfer was part of that. So in the end, I'm going to have to come back and add that on. Not necessarily what I want to do, but it is what it is. Okay, so that is now done. Now this Boss Extrude is the one that also has changed. So I'm going to come to here, spacebar, normal 2, and I'm going to edit this sketch. Okay, I'm going to take this 135 off here real quick. And what I'm going to do is change this 35 to a 30. I'm going to change this 15 to a 20. Okay, change this value with invalid geometry. And that is because I think I have this point right here is vertical, horizontal. Why would that change my geometry if I take that off of there and change this to 20? Let me see what that does. Okay, that did work. So let me do this. Oh, I know what it is. Control Z. This is no longer, let me get rid of that. This point right here is no longer, are they on the same line still? Let me just look. This right here should not be vertical to this. That's what it is, okay? If I go to here to 20, that should shift out. This actually now is vertical to this. That's the big shift. Okay, the last thing I have to do, and I apologize again for the confusion there, I need to add in 167, and that should automatically come up. Just go ahead and I'm going to put 167 there, and now it's done. Okay, that is all we had to change. Honestly, that was it. Again, the reason that the 20 didn't work is because I had the center locked on this line. I had to break that relationship and shift it. Okay, if I hit my empty out here, this is essentially now done. The only thing that stinks that I have to do is I have to go in here and I have to add in my chamfers. Okay, but what I'm going to do first, and it doesn't matter, I'll do my chamfers at the end. I am actually going to go ahead and make the 2 cuts on the inside of my circles. Okay, so I'm going to start working on these. I have a plane going right down the center of this part. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that plane and I'm going to offset that plane 1 millimeter to the left or to the right. I don't care which direction you go. It's just going to be 1 millimeter. Why is it 1 millimeter? Because if you look at this closely, this distance here is 2. Well, my plane's right in the middle. That means it's 1 millimeter left and 1 millimeter to the right. All right, so what I'm going to do is just take and go to my front plane. We're going to add a new plane 1 millimeter away. We're going to create our 2 new circles of 22 and 27, and then we're going to extrude cut those 2 millimeters. I'm then going to mirror that cut over that plane to the other side. Hopefully that just made sense. Okay, so let's go through that. So I'm going to take my front plane. Okay, and this is some of the advanced stuff we still got to remember. I want to create a new plane. I'm going to make that new plane go back. Okay, so I'm going to hold my control key, and when I see the little cross come up, okay, that tells me I'm on my plane. I'm going to hold my left mouse button and move it. Okay, now the way to make that work is, again, I held my mouse button with my control key down. Now, I'm going to tell it I want the distance of this new plane to be 1 millimeter. Okay, so all it's going to do is take the plane that's going down the middle and shift it 1 millimeter to the right or left. You can go either direction, I don't care. Okay, I'm going to hit my check mark. I get this new plane. Now, why it's light blue, I'm going to start a new sketch, spacebar, normal to. And I'm going to draw 1 circle. Okay, that circle here, I should apologize, 2 circles, and 1 over here. Okay, this circle over here will be 22 millimeters. This circle over here will be 27 millimeters. Okay, so 22 and 27. Now looking at these, they're slightly off center. Now I'm going to make sure that I extrude cut these this way towards the back. Okay, now in this case, I'm going to hide my plane. I don't like a bunch of planes on my screen. So I'm going to go over here to the left and right click. Then I'm just going to hit the eyeball for hide. I'm now going to go to features, extruded cut. Okay, and I want to go from here 2 millimeters, 2. Okay, so what's going to happen is this circle is going to cut from here over 2 millimeters, creating a small channel on the inside of each circle. I'm going to hit my check mark. So there's that channel right there that we're looking at. Okay, now again, if you want to see that, I'll actually color it in just a second here so you can see that. Now from here, I'm just going to go to features, mirror. I'm going to mirror it around the facer plane. I'm going to mirror it around my expand this menu, front plane, and the feature I want to mirror is this extruded cut. So what's going to happen is there's the plane right down the middle, and now it's going to take this cut and mirror it over to the other side. Check mark. Okay, so now there is the 2 channel cuts, and I'm going to go ahead and add a color to those. So you can see those are the same that are in the drawing provided to you. We'll make those nice and blue. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with the mirror. Okay, so there's those 2 cuts. So the last thing I got to do is come in here and add in those chamfers. Now, unfortunately, when I deleted that stuff, I had to come back and do this again. It's a little bit of work. I apologize that that got deleted. Okay, but I'm going to take my time because I'm almost done with this. I'm just going to kind of work around, hit every one of these edges just like we did in the subsequent one. Okay, going to this side. Again, all the inside edges here. All right, again, if you want to do this in trials and phases a little bit at a time, it's up to you. The faces won't work. That I don't want to hit. I want to hit this outside edge. Okay, this outside edge. Rotate around. I'm going to hit this outside edge and that outside edge. Okay, now hopefully if you were lucky, you may have not lost your chamfers. If that's the case, congratulations. That's awesome. That saves you a huge step. Okay, and I'm going to go in here, and I'll come back and add the color on those so you can see what's going on and make sure that you are doing the right thing. Okay, and I think that's all my chamfers back. I know it was confusing, so let's hit our check mark and add color. That looks pretty good right there. Isometric. I'm going to go in here to chamfer, beach ball, and again, you don't have to do this. I just want you to be able to see what I'm working with. And I believe there is all of the chamfers back with our 2 subsequent cuts. So at this point, don't hit save, because if you do, you're going to wipe out part number 1. I want to quickly do a file save as. I want to call this control bracket underscore part 2 underscore my last name and hit save. All right, now that you're done with this part, okay, I would like you to go to your evaluate and mask properties, find the mask properties for this part, and then input that into the assessment in Schoology. Okay, at this point, part number 2 is complete. Make sure you've saved it, and then you are to upload this to Schoology after you've entered your masks. Okay, I'm going to have another video in just a second here for part number 3. Good luck. If you have questions, email me.